Boston is a city built on history, from the American Revolution to the modern skyline that lights up its harbor today. But now history may be sinking. As sea levels rise and storms grow stronger, Boston faces a future that could look very different. Flooded streets, submerged neighborhoods, entire parts of the city swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean. And this isn't a far-off threat. Scientists warn that Boston could start seeing regular flooding in many areas within our lifetime, and some parts might not survive at all. So when will Boston really be underwater? Let's uncover the facts. How Boston's history makes it more vulnerable. Boston's connection to the sea is part of its charm, but also its curse. Much of the city was originally built on filled land. In the 19th century, marshes, tidal flats, and even parts of the Charles River were filled in to create places like Back Bay and South End. While this allowed Boston to expand, it also left large parts of the city sitting just a few feet above sea level. That means these areas are especially at risk now. When waters rise, the filled land sinks faster and floods more easily than natural ground. How fast is sea level rising around Boston? Sea levels are rising around Boston faster than the global average. According to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, sea levels in Boston Harbor have already risen by about 9 inches since 1950, and the rate is speeding up. Right now, scientists predict that Boston could see up to 3 feet of sea level rise by 2100, and that's under moderate climate change scenarios. If greenhouse gas emissions continue at current rates, it could be even worse. And it won't take 3 feet to cause major problems. Even a rise of just 1 foot could make today's 100-year storms happen every few years instead. What parts of Boston are most at risk? The first places likely to flood are those built on the lowest and most vulnerable land. Neighborhoods like East Boston, the Seaport District, Charlestown, and parts of downtown are some of the most at risk. These areas already see sunny day flooding during high tides and strong rains. The Boston Seaport, filled with new luxury condos and office towers, is especially vulnerable. Despite billion-dollar investments, experts warn that without major protection, large parts of the seaport could flood regularly by the 2050s. Back Bay and the South End, because of their filled land foundations, could also face chronic flooding if protective measures fail. Could Boston really become an underwater city? Boston probably won't disappear all at once in some sudden disaster. Instead, it will likely drown piece by piece. At first, it will be annoying. More frequent road closures, flooded subway stations, businesses losing customers after heavy rains. But over time, certain areas could become impossible to insure, too costly to maintain, and too dangerous to live in. By the second half of this century, parts of the city could be abandoned permanently if action isn't taken. And by 2100, without serious global efforts to stop climate change, large sections of Boston could be underwater at every high tide. What is Boston doing to fight sea level rise? Boston isn't sitting still. The city has launched the Climate Ready Boston Initiative, a detailed plan to protect neighborhoods from rising seas and stronger storms. Some of the strategies include building higher seawalls, creating floodable parks that absorb stormwater, raising roads, and installing more powerful drainage systems. There's even talk of building a massive harbor barrier to shield the entire downtown area from future storm surges. But all of these solutions are incredibly expensive and complicated, and they might only delay, not fully prevent, some of the worst impacts if climate change continues unchecked. What's even more alarming is how quickly the timelines are moving up. Scientists now warn that what used to be considered end-of-the-century problems could happen decades earlier if polar ice keeps melting faster. Some projections suggest that by 2070, major parts of Boston's coastline could flood several times a month, even without major storms. That means people alive today could witness a very different Boston, one where water shapes daily life as much as concrete and glass. Why seawalls alone won't save the city. While seawalls and flood barriers help, they aren't perfect solutions. Boston's geography. with its many inlets, rivers, and harbor channels, makes building simple walls very difficult. And water doesn't just rise from the front. It can seep under and around barriers, especially through Boston's old sewer and drainage systems. Plus, higher walls often just push the problem somewhere else, making flooding worse for nearby towns or ecosystems. Adaptation will require a much bigger approach, redesigning the way Boston grows, builds, and lives with water in the future. Can Boston survive rising seas? The answer is yes, but only with massive changes. Boston may need to retreat from some areas while reinforcing and reimagining others. It may involve building floating structures, redesigning neighborhoods to flood safely, or relocating entire communities over time. Success will depend on a combination of smart planning, big investments, public support, and most importantly, global action to cut greenhouse gases. Because no city, no matter how historic or wealthy, can hold back the oceans forever if the planet keeps heating up. Boston has always been a city of fighters, a place that rose from rebellion to become a symbol of freedom and progress. But now, it faces a different kind of revolution, one against time, nature, and the consequences of human choices. If we act quickly and wisely, Boston's future can still shine, just as brightly as its past. But if we delay, the rising tides won't wait for plans or promises. They'll come, slowly, steadily, and permanently, until the city we know becomes a memory written beneath the waves. The water is rising, the clock is ticking, and the fight for Boston's survival has already begun. For more real-world updates on the critical changes shaping our cities and futures, subscribe now and stay informed while there's still time to make a difference.